Alright, now we're getting into some actual guns. Now the first one here is the nail gun, a relatively powerful electric tool. Now this isn't a firearm technically, but it's a perfect segue from the melee weapons into the firearms. It's like a hybrid of both categories, you could say. We've definitely not seen this before. Here's a real-life variant of a nail gun. So the nail gun can only be found in a single fixed location, and that's in the Outbreak scenario regardless of difficulty. It is located in the staff room on the second floor of Jay's bar. It is here on the desk near the fridge in the southeast corner of the main room. Now this is both a usable weapon and an item. It's not necessarily a key item, but it can be used to impede the progress of zombies in the scenario. I'll be showing the cutscene of that at the end of the weapon. Now here's the nail gun being equipped by all the characters. Now that we're getting into actual guns, it does look a lot more appealing to me as a weapon, after doing all of those blunt objects and projectiles. But if you thought it looked good there, check this out. Here is the nail gun extremely close up. I am so happy that I found this camera angle, because specifically with David, look at these extreme close-ups I can get of weapons that he aims with his one-handed stance. Let's go ahead and test it out. And there is no ammo that comes with it, so there is no reloading the nail gun. Now, of course, similar to the knives, there's a whole nother animation when you are in danger status with characters. Alright, so since this is somewhat like a pistol of sorts, let's go ahead and test it on zombies. So the thing about firearms from here on out for the rest of the showcase, distance does matter. There is a difference between damage points, whether you're shooting from afar, at mid-range, or close up. Now, because of this discrepancy, what I'm gonna do is provide you guys at least one shot from every distance so you could determine the values, but then for the rest of the weapon test, I'm only gonna use close-up, alright? So, to test the nail gun on zombies. Alright, close-up does 120. Medium range does 60. And far range only does 36. Alright, so between 6 and 7 shots from the nail gun to defeat zombies, with a health pool between 650 and 800, somewhere around there, which is the average zombie of normal mode. Alrighty. Now there's another mechanic in the game that I have to go over when it comes to handguns in general, and that is an escape maneuver. Now there are 3 different enemies that you could break out of their grapple with certain handguns. Zombies, zombie dogs, and scissor tails. And with zombies alone, you can get 3 different animations depending on if they grab you from the front, from behind, or wrestle you to the ground. The zombie dog and the scissor tail each only have 1 animation, but the scissor tails is actually the same exact animation as a zombie wrestling you to the ground. There's no difference between the two, so I'm actually not going to show the scissor tails with this, but the zombie dog just bites your hand and has a unique animation. So I'll show 4 different escape animations with the handguns that are able to perform it. Not all handguns can do this maneuver. Here it is with the nail gun. Now, look at the amount of damage that caused. That caused 510 points of damage. And then the same maneuver from behind. And then finally, if a zombie gets you down, like so. Now, the one with the zombie dog I can't do with the nail gun because there is no zombie dog in the Outbreak scenario, and the nail gun is exclusive to the Outbreak scenario. So, those are the escape maneuvers. Now, one more maneuver that I want to show is the take pot shot, which is a function that only Kevin and Alyssa could perform. Now, both of them do the same amount of extra damage when you use this function, so it doesn't matter who does it. I just gotta show it with at least one of them. So the take pot shot is basically a focus shot that's supposed to enact critical. However, with the nail gun, it appears that that doesn't happen. That's probably because the nail gun can't perform a critical headshot, simply put. You're not able to see this ability used to its full extent here, but yeah, it does exist. Alrighty, well that's ultimately gonna conclude the nail gun. We'll get better results with all these extra functions with future weapons. Alright, now we're really getting into the firearms, so time to turn on the heat. Before we go over any of them though, let's first go over the ammunition. Handgun rounds. 9mm parabellum rounds. They are used in various handguns. Alright. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like there is some Japanese text on the box, as well as English text. 9mm parabellum, you can see really clearly there. But on the bottom and on the back there, it looks to be a different language altogether. Starting with Handgun For Mark. Why not the regular handgun? Well, because statistically, this handgun has less damage points than the regular handgun. Mark's favorite handgun. It uses 9mm parabellum rounds. Alright, so, unfortunately, because it's not in the regular slotted inventory, I don't have a floating model of this. However, I can tell you right here now, it is the same exact handgun as the regular handgun that I will go over next. What that is, though, I'm not going to tell you, since we'll go over it in full for the regular handgun. Just know it's going to be just like that one. Now, here's Mark holding his handgun in-game. This is going to look exactly the same, at least for Mark, when I go over the next weapon. I mean, just looking at it, you could probably make a really good guess at which 9mm pistol this actually is. I'll let you guys ponder that. And again, I'll go over it anyway when I go over the actual weapon. But for now, let's go ahead and test it out with Mark, as it is his personal weapon. Okay, so for the first time in the franchise, they reload each individual round into the gun, which I don't think is realistic at all. I think in reality, you can only load maybe one bullet into the slide, if anything, but you have to take the magazine out and manually load it into the magazine. I don't think you could manually load it into the gun. Now you notice that there is a box of handgun rounds as well as a handgun magazine. The magazine is described as a handgun magazine, reloads 9mm rounds. Not much of a description. But anyway, the handgun rounds can be used for any 9mm weapon of sorts, but the handgun magazine can only be used with Mark's handgun and the regular handgun. It cannot be used with any other handgun. So that is the important distinction right there. Now, of course, if you have the magazine, Mark's handgun could be reloaded a lot quicker. So much faster. Now, it's worth noting that in order to use a magazine again, you still have to carry the box of rounds and then combine it with it. It's kind of inconvenient to have the magazine at all, really. It just takes up an extra slot, even though it speeds it up. Because you have to do that every time, it's almost not worth it. Alright, so let's go ahead and test Mark's handgun on some zombies. Alright, so close range does 130 damage. Does 117 at medium range. Okay, it appears that Mark has an extra perk with his handgun. There is no far range statistic. it'll stay medium range even if you are far away, because I'm getting 117 every time, no matter how far away I get. So yeah, that must be the case. Well, with that in mind, let's do a more proper test. Took 6 shots against the zombie with a 750 health pool. Alrighty, well, the Handgun for Mark is a funny kind of handgun, has a little perk attached to it. We'll be able to compare it better with the next handgun. Now, the thing is, like I said in the beginning, this handgun is just like the next handgun that I'm about to go over. Its statistical value is only 10 points less than the regular handgun. Because everything else literally acts the same as the regular handgun, I'm not gonna worry about doing the defensive maneuvers with this handgun. I'll leave it for the next one. So that's gonna conclude the Handgun for Mark. Okay, now to go over the regular handgun. And as you can see, we actually have a floating model now. The RPD's official handgun. It uses 9mm parabellum rounds. Alright, now with that first half of the description, I can now tell you straight up that this is, of course, the Beretta 92FS. It appears to be the absolute standard version. It's not a Samurai Edge of any sort, so it is not based on the Brigadier variant of the Beretta 92FS, just the regular variant. So, if we want a direct comparison, we have only seen this before in the original Resident Evil game. All the other Beretta 92FSs between were either Enox or Brigadier variants. So here's a list of all of the locations you can find a handgun in the game. There are quite a few. This is the most abundant firearm in the game. And out of these locations, 6 of them are fixed regardless of difficulty, so let's go over them. First, in the Outbreak scenario, there's 2 fixed locations. The first one is found very early in the men's bathroom, on the first floor of Jay's bar. It is in the litter bin next to the door. The other one can be found at the very end of the scenario in the final area, the main street, in Town 2. You have to speak to the remaining police officer on the north end of the street. After prompting him multiple times, he will eventually drop you a handgun. In easy, normal, and hard mode, it'll have 15 rounds, while in very hard, it'll only have 10 rounds. It's worth mentioning that if you're playing as Kevin Ryman, or a Kevin-type NPC, you will get the handgun a lot faster, since you're a colleague. The below freezing point scenario doesn't have any handgun of this sort. Instead, it has its own handgun known as the Handgun SG, which will be the next handgun I go over. The Hive scenario has 1 fixed location for a handgun, found fairly early in the scenario. It is in room 302 on the 3rd floor of the hospital, which is the same location as the one and only stick that you could pick up in-game. It is inside the metal lockers in the corner of the room, and it comes loaded with 15 handgun rounds in easy, normal, and hard, while only 10 rounds in very hard. The Hellfire scenario does have handguns, but no fixed location that disregards difficulty. And finally, the Decision scenario, which has 3 fixed locations, all of which are very late in the scenario. The first of which is in the 2nd hall on the 3rd floor of the university. After watching the cutscene of Greg getting shot in the head by Nikolai, it is next to his body. And what's interesting is, in easy and normal mode, it comes loaded full with 15 handgun rounds, but in hard mode, it only has 5 rounds, and in very hard mode, it has a lousy 1 round in it. The next one is a lot more forgiving, which is found on the unloading passage in University Yard 1. It is on the ground next to the northeast door, and in all difficulties, it comes loaded with a full 15 rounds. And the last location is in the front square in University Yard 2. Once again, the final area. This one's on the ground next to the tank in the northeast corner, and it comes loaded with a full 15 rounds in any difficulty. Now here's the handgun in-game being equipped by every character. Looking really nice in this HD texture. I really love the defined slide that it has. Here's an extreme close-up of the handgun. Oh yes, that is a Beretta if I ever saw one. And let's go ahead and test it out. Let's also see it while in danger status. Alright, now let's test this on zombies and see the tiny difference between this and Mark's version of the handgun. 140 at close range. 112 for medium. And 84 at far range. That took a lot. You guys don't know because I edited it all out, but that took a lot of takes. Alright, now to properly test. So between 5 and 6 shots to defeat a zombie in normal mode with the regular handgun. Alright, now to perform all the escape maneuvers. Against the Cerberus, it caused 500 flat. I guess the 10 is probably also push damage added onto it. I never considered that. Okay, and now for the take pot shots with the regular handgun. So now you properly see that it causes a critical shot, which at close range doubled the damage, exactly. Alrighty then, that is gonna conclude the regular handgun.
Conscience remains.
You startled me. I'm surprised you're still alive. The whole city's a war zone.
Eric, what's taking so long? Hurry up!
I'm almost done. Okay, it's done.
Now for the next handgun, the Handgun SG, an easy-to-use handgun. It uses 9mm parabellum rounds. Okay, so really it's just that easy to use that distinguishes it from the regular handgun. And as you notice, it has 2 less bullets than the regular handgun in its capacity. And looking at it, we can somewhat gather that this is a SIG-Sauer of sorts, and that's probably what the SG sort of references. Now, according to imfdb.org, this is specifically based off of the SIG-Sauer P228. So, we haven't seen this specific SIG before in the franchise, but we can compare it to a very similar SIG that we saw in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, which was the SIG Pro SP 2009. As I mentioned before, most weapons in this game, especially the firearms, are referencing an earlier seen weapon. So as I said when I was going over the locations of the regular handgun, the Handgun SG is exclusive to the below freezing point scenario. Here's a list of all the locations, and as we can see, one of them is in the same area across all difficulties. While there is a small difference to exactly where it's located within the room between easy mode and the rest of the difficulties, it is the same room regardless, so I'll show that area and both of the spots it could spawn. This is very early in the scenario, literally the second area you enter, known as the platform. In easy mode, it is on the ground at the end of the northern corridor leading to the elevator. In all the other difficulties, though, it spawns just a little earlier, on the ground at the end of the platform next to the train. And it comes loaded with a full 13 rounds in easy and normal modes, but only 10 in hard and very hard modes. Now here's the Handgun SG in-game being equipped by all the characters. It's rather unfortunate that the lighting of this hub is underwhelming. It really doesn't do it justice. But it was the best angle that I could find, so what are you gonna do? Here's an extreme close-up of the Handgun SG, since I could still get a close-up angle with David here. Now let's go ahead and test it out. And unfortunately, the Handgun SG doesn't come with its own magazine. Now, before you rush to the comments and be like, actually, there is a magazine for the Handgun SG and Outbreak File 2, I'm clearly not showcasing Outbreak File 2, so don't even think about it. And let's say it being tested in danger status with both sexes. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and test the Handgun SG on some zombies, preferably with the same health pool as ones that I tested in the Outbreak scenario. So 160 at close range, 96 at mid-range, and 64 at far range. So it definitely has a higher drop-off in damage compared to the regular handgun. And now for good old testing. Ooh, that was a critical. And that lowered my shot mount to 4. So yeah, criticals are random. You don't need the pod shot to perform them. It's just the pod shot guarantees them. And now, to show the escape maneuvers with the Handgun SG, just the zombie one, since there's no Cerberus in this scenario. And now for the take pot shot. This one with Alyssa. Naturally, the critical shot doubles the damage from 160 to 320. And yep, the range thing does still apply even with pot shots. Alrighty then. That's gonna be it for the Handgun SG. Now for the next 9mm pistol, the Burst Handgun. A handgun that could rapidly fire up to 3 rounds. Hence Burst. Alright. So, looking at it, we have seen this before for sure in Resident Evil Code Veronica X, as well, of course, as Survivor 2 Code Veronica. Not that we care about that much. So, of course, this is based on the Beretta 93 Raffica. So here's a list of locations where you could find the Burst handgun, and as you can see, it is exclusive to the Hive scenario, and there are only 2 locations total. One in easy and normal mode, and another in hard and very hard mode. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the one in easy and normal, because the one in hard and very hard mode is also a location for an upcoming weapon, so I'll be showing that location indirectly through that. It's also because that other location has special circumstances that only 2 of the 8 characters can meet, so the location in easy and normal mode is better to show since all the characters can get it. So this is in the night reception on the 1st floor of the hospital, and the Burst handgun is located on the burning boxes on the north side of the room. It comes loaded with the full 20 handgun rounds in both difficulty modes. Now here's the Burst handgun in-game being equipped by all characters. It's good to see the M93 Raffica being wielded by someone other than a Redfield. And I managed to find a close enough angle to get the extreme close-up of the Burst handgun with David. Alright, let's go ahead and test it out. And of course, it has a total capacity of 20, far outweighing the other handguns I've gone over so far. With that, reloading takes a little longer. And unfortunately, you cannot take a pot shot with the burst handgun. And let's test it in danger status. Alrighty then, let's test out the burst handgun on some zombies. So total, it appears to be 330. So 110 per shot. I remember my thought process behind this. Even though each individual shot does less than the previous handgun, the accumulation of shots is much higher, because you can't even fire a single shot if you tried. You can in File 2, but again, we're not showcasing that game. The only way you can only get one shot off is if you get interrupted. 264 for mid-range divided by 3, that's 88 per shot for mid-range. Now, can I possibly land far range on this zombie? Yes, I can, and it appears to do a total damage of 198 divided by 3, that's 66 per shot at long range. So it took 7 individual shots to defeat the zombie, but 3 pulls of the trigger since you're forced to do burst fire. So yeah, the way I'm doing these tests, especially with the firearms, is a bit unconventional and it's nothing like I've ever done before. I'm really deep into the details here, but that tracker allows me to do so. So I'm doing it. I wasn't kidding when I told you guys at the end of the Zero showcase that this showcase is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen. Alright, and just like the take pot shot, you cannot do escape maneuvers with the burst handgun. So that's going to go ahead and conclude it. Now for the next and last handgun of sorts, the 45 Auto for Kevin. Kevin's favorite handgun. It uses 45 ACP rounds. And with that, let's go over its ammo, because it's the only weapon that uses it. 45 auto rounds, used in the 45 automatic. There you go. Alright, so once again, it's unfortunate because it's its personal item and not in the regular inventory. There's no floating model. So for this one, it's going to look a little weird in the thumbnail, but oh well. So as it says, this is Kevin's personal weapon. He is the only person that could use it, similar to Mark's handgun. Unlike Mark's handgun, this uses its own ammo. So this is based off of the Colt M1911A1, 45 ACP. So of course, this throws back to the Colt 1911 that we have seen in Resident Evil 0. Now here's the 45 auto in game. It's too bad no other character could hold it. So let's go ahead and test it out with the only person who can. All right, just the mere sound of it sounds more powerful than all the other handguns, probably being 45 ACP. So let's go ahead and test this on zombies. So at close range, it caused 450 damage. Close range only takes 2 shots for a zombie in normal mode. 405 at medium range. 360 at far range. So it's a considerable weapon at all ranges, no doubt. And yeah, you already saw it only takes 2 shots at close range, which is my normal testing. But 360 damage even at far range? It's gonna take no more than 3 shots, at least in normal mode for most zombies. I had to show you guys the escape maneuvers with the 45 auto. Okay, so it appears that that escape maneuver has a fixed value across all handguns. Good to know. I guess with the exception of if a zombie is on its last legs, maybe you can't defeat a zombie with that maneuver? I don't know.
Holy shit!
Now let's see the pot shot, and I saved a special zombie for this one. That's basically a headshot. So apparently, while the pot shot doubles the damage for all the other handguns, for the 45 auto, it quadruples it. With that, this is suitable for even bosses. Alrighty, well that's ultimately gonna conclude the 45 auto.
Farewell.
Alright, let's turn up the fire rate, and let's move into the machine guns of sort. First one is the SIG-Sauer, an automatic handgun for special forces. Now what's funny is we diverted off of the 9mm ammo temporarily for Kevin's 45 auto, but this submachine gun uses regular handgun rounds. And of course, it's so easy to see that this is an MP5 of sorts. Specifically, it is a Heckler and Koch MP5A2. Now, there's only been one game where we've seen a MP5 of any sort before, and that was Resident Evil 0. And like I said in that game, you will see it more often from there on out. So what's interesting about the submachine gun when it comes to location is it is in the same location in easy and normal mode as the burst handgun is in hard and very hard mode, which is on the rooftop of the hospital. This is the only location that you can get the submachine gun, and you can only acquire it with Kevin or Cindy. Once they get it though, they could of course give it to other characters. Now here's the submachine gun in-game being equipped by all the characters. I like how any variant of the MP5 is instantly recognizable. So let's go ahead and test it out. And now we reload it like a handgun. Okay, so what's interesting is when you first acquire the submachine gun, it only has 20 rounds in it, but it can be reloaded up to 30. Now, using the same ammunition as the pistols, we'll of course continue testing this on zombies. 100 close range, 80 medium range, and only 60 at far range. So that first test was medium range based on the statistical values, but you're realistically not going to use a submachine gun like that. Instead, you're probably going to rapid fire it for at least a little bit, like so. Now, because I have the tracker on me, it makes it easy for me to determine when to stop shooting. But yeah, normally you unload about 7 to 10 shots of rapid fire before you even consider stopping. Right there, that was the proper test. Look at all that blood. Alrighty. Well, that is gonna go ahead and conclude the submachine gun, which concludes all 9mm weapons, specifically.
closing in! All right, come on.
The thing's too huge. These 9mm are useless.
Almost got him. Hold on.
Calm down. You must give me your blood.
What the?
Now for the next and last machine gun, the assault rifle, the only type of its class. A gun suited for rapid firing. It uses 5.56 caliber rounds. All right, so we got a specific round type associated with it. It's nice to know. And we could just tell by looking at it, this is a Colt of sorts. Specifically, it is the Colt Model 727. Now, we haven't seen this exact model before, but of course, I like to compare weapons more generically. We've only seen this before in a usable sense in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Now, being a different weapon type, let's go over its ammo, the assault rifle magazine. A magazine for assault rifles, of which there's only one in this game, so why plural? This sets 5.56mm rounds. Now here's a list of locations where you could get the assault rifle in the game. As you can see, it can only be found in the decision scenario, and there is one fixed location across all difficulties, so let's show that one. This is in the south car in the emission tower facility. It is on the seats at the north end of the car next to the door, and in all difficulties it comes loaded with a full 30 assault rifle rounds. Now here's the assault rifle being equipped in-game by all the characters. Never mind all the NPC business happening in the background. This gun looks really good in this high resolution. Now let's go ahead and test it out. Of course, with the tyrant in the room, it might be a little difficult. Now, I almost failed to mention this, but there's no danger status for two-handed weapons. They just automatically go into the regular stance. Alright, so the assault rifle, even though being supposedly more powerful ammunition, considering I've always tested all machine guns on regular zombies, I'm gonna stick to that. So let's test the assault rifle on some zombies. 130 per bullet. At close range, it's pretty good. Yeah, get your revenge. 104 at medium range. A 91 for far range. Now to finish the zombie off in normal fashion, sort of, at close range only. There you go. Now let's find some more zombies and use this thing properly against them. There you go. Got a medium range and far range with rapid fire. So yeah, this is a pretty powerful weapon. Personally, I think the scenario provides you with enough ammo to sustain it for a while, but I wouldn't start using it right away as soon as you find one. You should still save it for later in the scenario. I would say when you gather all three ingredients, it's probably safe to start using it full time. That and a grenade launcher that's also found in this scenario. Alrighty then, well that is going to conclude the assault rifle.
Pentagon announced that radio that's that radioactive waste has been leaked throughout Raccoon City. In accordance with U.S. safety regulations, the city has been placed under quarantine and the Army has been sent in to investigate and control the situation.